यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Nitai Gaurachandra Bhagavan ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We are reading from the first canto, ninth chapter, verse number 35. Sapadi Sakhi, what is the tune? 1 minute. Sapadi Sakhi Vacho Nishamya Madhye Nija Parayor Balayoratham Niveshya Stitavati Parasainai Kurakshna Ritavati Partha Sakirati Mamastu Sapadi Sakhi Vacho Nishamya Madhye Nija Parayor Balayoratam Niveshya Stitavati Parasainikayurakshna Ritavati Partha Sakiratir Mamastu. Mataji's. Word to word meaning and translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sapati on the battlefield. Sakhi vachaha, command on the friend. Nishamya, after hearing. Madhye, in the midst. Nija, his own. Parayoho, and the opposite party. Balayoho, strength. Ratham, chariot. Niveshya, having entered. Stitavati, while staying there. Parasainika, of the soldiers on the opposite side. Ayuhu, duration of life. Akshna, by looking over. Hritavati, act of diminishing. Partha, of Arjuna, son of Pritha. Kunti, Sakhe, unto the friend. Ratihi, intimate relation. Mama, my. Astu, let there be. Translation. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Shri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 1.21 to 25, Arjuna ordered the infallible Lord Shri Krishna to place his chariot between the phalanxes of the soldiers. He asked him to stay there until he had finished observing the enemies he had to face in the battle. When the Lord was so asked, he at once did so, just like an order carrier. And the Lord pointed out all the important men on the opposite side, saying, "Here is Bhishma, here is Drona," and so on. The Lord, being the supreme living being, is never the order supplier or order carrier of anyone, whoever he may be. But out of his causeless mercy and affection for his pure devotees, sometimes he carries out the order of the devotee like an awaiting servant. By executing the order of a devotee, the Lord becomes pleased, as a father is pleased to carry out the order of his small child. This is possible only out of pure transcendental love between the Lord and his devotees, and Bhishma Dev was quite aware of this fact. He therefore addressed the Lord as the friend of Arjuna. The Lord diminished the duration of life of the opposite party by his merciful glance. It is said that all the fighters who assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained salvation by personally seeing the Lord at the time of death. Therefore, his diminishing the duration of life of Arjuna's enemy does not mean that he was partial to the cause of Arjuna. Factually, he was merciful to the opposite party because they would not have attained salvation by dying at home in the ordinary course of life. Here was a chance to see the Lord at the time of death and thus attain salvation from material life. Therefore, the Lord is all good, and whatever he does is for everyone's good. Apparently, it was for the victory of Arjuna, his intimate friend, but factually, it was for the good of Arjuna's enemies. Such are the transcendental activities of the Lord, and whoever understands this also gets salvation after quitting this material body. The Lord does no wrong in any circumstance because he is absolute, all good at all times. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sita Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatate Shatarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate नाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरतुषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुर्वैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। खम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। Hare Krishna. First of all, I would like to seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas. As such, I don't have the qualification to come here and sit here and speak to all of you all. But still, as a matter of service to all the Vaishnavas, and for the exclusive glorification of the Supreme Lord, and most importantly, the purification of my heart, I will try to share few words what I have heard from my superiors, from the acharyas, and fellow Vaishnavas. Um, so please bless me that I try to that I make a feeble attempt to try to glorify Krishna through this discussion of the Shrimad Bhagavatam. So, so this is a very beautiful section of the prayers of Bhishma Dev, which we are seeing here. So here, Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about how Krishna becomes subservient to his devotee. Krishna is actually, he's not an order carrier or an order supplier, but he deliberately becomes one because he's controlled by the love of his devotees. This is a pure transcendental exchange between the Lord and his devotees. And that is why Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, Ek Bhagavad Bada Bhagavad Shastra, Ara Bhagavad Bada Ara Bhagavad Bhakta Bhakti Rasa Patra. So one Bhagavatam, there are two Bhagavats basically. One is the Shrimad Bhagavatam, and the second one is the Bhakta, that devotee who is absorbed in the mellows of loving devotion. And today we see the example of Bhishma Dev, how he is absorbed in that mellow of loving devotion towards the Supreme Lord. And not only he's absorbed, but he's also remembering those devotees who are absorbed in different rasas in relation with Krishna. He's remembering Arjuna. He's remembering Arjuna, who is so deeply connected with Krishna through Sakhya Ras. Later on, he goes on to even describe about the gopis of Vrindavan who are absorbed in pure conjugal love in Madhurya Ras in relation with Krishna. So this is Bhishma Dev's meditation we see. And as a result of that absorption in Krishna, that Krishna becomes totally controlled by love. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arasabhya Britya Jare Jaiche Nachai Se Taiche Kare Nirtya. That Krishna, he is the one who controls everyone in his fingertips. He makes everyone dance. But that Krishna becomes controlled by the motherly gopis. How is that so? He says in the 10th canto of the Shrimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Gopi bihi stobito nrityad Bhagavan balavat kvachit udgayati kvachin mugdas tadvasho daru yantravat. How is that? Now what does he say? He says that, Shukdev Goswami is saying that he becomes Gopi bihi, by the gopis, udgayati. He is induced, encouraged to do what?
to dance. That Krishna who makes everyone dance, he dances. He becomes a puppet. And who is he? He's Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Virasya Yashasya Shriya Jnana Vairagya. That Bhagavan who is the possessor of all six opulences. He becomes what? Balavat. He becomes like a child. And what does he do? Udgayati. He sings so loudly. He plays around. Udgayati Kwachin Mugdas Tadvasho. He becomes under the control of his devotees. And like what? Daru, Yantravat. Just like how a puppeteer, he controls a wooden doll, by the virtue of his strings. That is how Krishna is becoming controlled. That is how gopis, the motherly gopis, they control Krishna just by, telling him so many things, instructing him. Krishna, do this. Krishna, do that. So this is what is thing. And that is why Krishna, he's also, another name for Krishna is called Damodar. What is Dam? We have the famous, Dam Bandhan Leela, Damodar. Damodar means, Dam means rope and Udar means stomach. So that is what? Krishna is controlled by the ropes of love. So, this Gaurang Prabhu is very beautifully mentioning in one of the recent classes that he gave in Govardhan Eco Village. So he was telling that, when Krishna, he beat down Kamsa to death, Sri Dama, who was present at that point of time, witnessing this duel between Krishna and Kamsa, he was surprised. How is that Krishna could have defeated Kamsa? That Kamsa who had the strength of 10,000 elephants, whom Jayadratha agreed his daughters, Asti and Prapti, to get married to Kamsa because of his influence and strength, get defeated by Krishna. No. How is that so? So Sri Dama decided that I will come on the arena and I will give an open challenge to Krishna. Krishna, why don't you come and fight with me? Now, how is that just by simply eating butter, at the hands of the motherly gopis that he gained so much of strength? That is not possible. And so Sri Dama, what did he do? Krishna, with his hands dripping with blood because of killing Kamsa, Sri Dama challenged, Krishna, let me see if you are my Krishna. You challenge me to a battle. And Krishna said, okay, no problem. We'll fight. And guess what? What happened? Krishna got defeated by Sri Dama. That Krishna who killed Kamsa got defeated by Sri Dama. So this is what? Krishna is Damodar in all rasas. He is controlled by the love of his pure devotees, by his friends, Sri Dama, Sudama, by all his friends. That Krishna who has Varahadev, he lifts the mountain. He lifts the earth. Who has Kurmadev, he lifts the Mandrachal mountain. And as Giridhar, he lifts Govardhan. But that Krishna is not able to carry the shoes of his father, Nanda Maharaj. How is that so? This is only because of one reason. Because he's totally controlled by the love of his pure devotees, Krishna. So that is why Krishna is in all cases always controlled by his devotees. Mother Yashoda, sometimes she tells Krishna that, Krishna, go and bring this article. Bibharti Kwachit Agyaptaha Pitakon Mana Padukam. Why don't you bring this wooden measuring pot, the Padukas? And Krishna, he goes there and he stands in front of the article and he tries his best to raise it, but he is not able to. He is not able to. And all the relatives are receiving so much of pleasure and laughing at this wonderful pastime of Krishna. But what does Krishna do? Bahu kshepam cha kurute. Krishna strikes his arms. With his arms he strikes his chest, telling that, yes, I can do it. I can pick it up. Swanam Pritam Cha Ahavahan. And like this, Krishna so wonderfully, he attracts the pleasure of all the devotees. So this is Krishna, how Krishna is totally controlled by love. And this is what today we see, how Krishna is totally controlled. Bhishma Dev at this point of time is meditating on that Krishna who is totally controlled and subservient to his devotee, Arjuna. So that is what we see today in today's verse, in obedience to the command of his friend. Krishna is totally subservient, is totally obedient to his devotee. And therefore, why is that so? Because Krishna is so grateful. He's so grateful to that extent that he tells, the gopis that I cannot reciprocate with your love. You just simply be satisfied. Na pareham niravadya samyujam. Swasadhu krityam vibudhayusha piva ma bhajan durjara geha shrinkhala samvricha tadya pradiyantu sadhuna. He says that, samvidya samyujam, nirvidya samyujam. Oh, dear gopis, our meeting is totally free of all kind of contamination. But I must admit one fact. And what is that one fact? That I cannot repay the debt. I cannot repay the debt which I carry in my heart. And what is that? So therefore, swasadhu krityam. Be happy. What is your compensation? You be happy with your good activities. Vibudhayusha pivaha. In a lifetime of Brahma, I cannot repay for what you have done. Now, is it because of the lack of time that Krishna cannot pay them? Or no, it's the lack of capability. It's lack of capability that Krishna cannot reciprocate with the gopis, because their level of devotion is so high. Now, what can I give you? Can I give you material enjoyment? No. You're on the transcendental platform. Can I give you mukti? No, that's a joke. Can I give you bhakti? I myself need to have it in order to give it to you. So Krishna is totally sold out to his devotees, that he's unable to reciprocate, in the appropriate manner with them. And that is why, Krishna is telling them, you please be satisfied with what you have, with your wonderful, with your devotion towards me. Krishna even goes in Acharya's reveal that, Krishna is telling that I cannot leave my Maya, Mother Yashoda. I cannot leave Nanda Baba. I cannot leave, Baldev. They are very, very dear to me. Unfortunately, all of you all are one-pointed. But I am multi-branched. I have to manage all my devotees. How am I supposed to do that? How is that possible for me? That is why the great acharyas, they say, who is greater? Is the moonlight greater or the chakura pakshi greater? Why? Because the moon beams gives its light to everyone. Whereas chakura pakshi is one pointed. He looks at the moon and derives nourishment from it. And on the other hand, the acharyas say, who is greater? Is the chataka pakshi greater or is the rain cloud greater? The acharyas say the chataka pakshi is greater. Why? Because once again, it is one pointed. It will not drink any water which is available on the earth, but will just wait for the pure rainwater that comes from the cloud, and will only feast upon that. And who is greater? The pure devotee is greater or Krishna is greater? And the acharyas say, oh, more greater than Krishna is the pure devotee, because of his one-pointed attention, one-pointed love towards the Supreme Lord. So that is what. So we see. So that's what Krishna told. Krishna told the gopis, ya ma bhajan, geha, durjara shrinkhala. That household life which is so difficult to give up. You just gave it up like this. Please understand, at that, today, in today's modern context, if some Mataji has to go out of her house, after a certain period of time, the parents become so much concerned. They become they become worried. Oh, where is my daughter gone? Where is she gone? Maybe it is already 11 o'clock in the night. Maybe I should call the police in order to inquire about her whereabouts. Then just imagine 5,000 years ago when the society was culturally so conservative. They left their father-in-laws, brother-in-laws, mother-in-laws, everyone, their own husbands, and ran towards the Supreme Lord Krishna. So this is what. And why is that so? Because they felt a sense of feeling of possessiveness. In the highest level of devotion that one can exhibit is when we understand, when we come to that level and stage where we understand that Krishna is mine, that mamata, that feeling of possessiveness. And this is what, the pure devotees of Krishna feel for Krishna. Devotee have so much of mamta for their, like, for example, I know His Grace Kanai Thakur was giving a very beautiful example, where he was giving this example of this Mataji in Bardoli. Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj told Mataji that, why don't you give your deities? You are now becoming old. You give your deities to some devotees, and you come to Mayapur and we will take care of you. You don't worry. But that Mataji said, "Oh, Gopal Maharaj, how can you think like this? Will you give your personal deities to someone? No, Srila Prabhupada has instructed us to come here, build a community, take care of the deities, and I am bound." So this is, you see, where devotees, at their practice of Krishna consciousness raises them to such a level where they feel, yes, Krishna is mine. I remember during the Corona lockdown, where that time many brahmacharis got an opportunity to cook for the Supreme Lord. Many of them were new, freshers in the kitchen, like our Adi Gopal Prabhu and Sharad Purnima Prabhu. I also tried 4 to 5 times, but I did not continue on. Okay, that's a different story. But so once our Sharad Purnima Prabhu, he had one of the first times he was cooking halwa, and how Kanai Thakur Prabhu is very, very specific with the taste as to how I should be tasting it. So he just tasted, and he told Sharad Purnima Prabhu, "Do you think the kitchen is an experiment ground for your halwa? Is this what you cook for the deities? What will Krishna feel? Now, Krishna should taste, such really good halwa. And, if you really want to experiment, why don't you go to the health kitchen and experiment there?" So this was a conversation that took place just right in front of me. So this is what, our practice should, culminate to such an extent that we feel that why should the offering go even 1 minute late for Nitai Gaurachandra? There's one devotee, Kanai Thakur is sharing that this devotee, I think it was Rupa Goswami Prabhu, where even if the offering is 1 minute late, that devotee would skip his meal. Now, how can Krishna go hungry? 1 minute late offering has taken place. So therefore, I will skip my meal. This is the prayaschitta. This is the atonement for the mistake that I have committed against the Supreme Lord. So this is what is called devotion. Not just, simply, okay, I'm supposed to do it. I have been asked to do so. I have been told by my superiors and guru. Yes, initially that is very good, but as we progress, in the stage, in our devotional practice, we need to understand that we need to cultivate a sense of possessiveness, mamata. Mora putra, mora sakha, mora pranapati, ye bhav kore more, ye bhav se more koro shuddha bhakti, apanake boda mone amasamahin. Hey Ami Tahara say Bhave Ahai Ami Tahara Adhin, where Mora, Mora Putra, Mora Sakha, Mora Pranapati, where what does this indicate? Mamata, a feeling of possessiveness for Krishna. And then what does Krishna say? Apanake Bodamana Amashamahin. To that extent, the pure devotees of Krishna, what do they feel? Apanake Bodamane. They feel that I'm greater than Krishna. If you don't take who will give you a bath? If I don't give you a bath, then, you will remain dirty. Krishna, you are going in the fields and playing, in the mud and rolling in the mud, and therefore you will get dirty. Krishna's feet is decorated with Vrajraj, with the dust of Vrindavan. And what is Mother Yashoda thinking? That look at this. My Krishna's feet are so dirty. That feet, Krishna is thinking that feet, that dust, where the great sages, when they bathe themselves with that dust, they get purified. Krishna, Mother Yashoda is thinking that my feet are dirty. Look at this. So this is what. So this sense of feeling of possessiveness has to come about when we practice devotional service over a period of years. Then we can, by the mercy of Guru, we can understand, we are making little advancement when these feelings are generated. But these feelings just don't generate like this. It has to be, of course, the mercy of Guru is required, and Anushilanam. It has to be cultivated over a period of time. So this is something very, very important that we learn. And this is how, Krishna is conquered. He is conquered by pure, unadulterated love, unmotivated, uninterrupted, unadulterated love. That is why, I was reading recently, very beautiful verse by Bilva Mangal Thakur. So he says, Gopal ang kardame viharase vipra dhware lajjase brushe gorshe hum krite stuti shater maunam vidhatse satam dasam gokula sundiri shukurushe swamyam dantatmasum gyatum krishna tavagri pankaja yugam premaika labhya muhu. So he says, Bilva Mangal Thakur is saying, Gopa angam kardame viharase Gopa angam kardame viharase vipradhware lajjase. Krishna, Mangal Thakur is praying, Krishna, you shine in front of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are chanting Vedic mantras. Swaha, Swaha. So many Vedic mantras they're chanting, but you shine in front of them. But Krishna, you play in the mud of the Gopas and the Gopis. Here Gopal does not mean Krishna. It specifically refers to the cowherd community. But you don't shine in front of them. You are openly playing in front of them. Brushe go vrishe. Brushe go vrishe. Hum krite stuti shater. When, the Ashtanga yogis, the Satam, they are meditating upon the Paramatma, in Suchau Deshi, in a purified place, following all the rules and regulations, Yukta Ahara, Yukta Vihara, Yukta Cheshta, they're regulating all their senses and all their activities. But you just give them your darshan as silent Paramatma. That's it. You do not do anything more than that. But one calf in Vrindavan, he says, who? And you go there right in front of him and you ask him so many questions. You ask, are you feeling hot? Is the temperature too much? Is the rope on the neck too tight? Are the friends not playing with you? Do I play my flute for you? Were you missing me? So these, one who, and the Acharya say, Brushe, you talk to them. Talk what? Stuti Shater, hundreds and hundreds of things. But Maunam Vidatsi Sadam. You are quiet, Maunam. For the Paramatma meditators, you just give them your darshan and that's it. Dasyam Gokula Sundiri Shukurushe Swamyam na Dantatmasu. You are ready to become servant of the Sundari Shu Gokul. Of the Vraj damsels of the Vraj damsels. But of self-controlled, you do not want to become their master. The Bilva Mangal Thakur is saying, Gyatum Krishna Tavagri Pankaja Yugam. Krishna, now I know. Gyatum. What do I know? If I want your two lotus feet, Pankaja Yugam, to decorate the inner chambers of my heart, there is only one thing. Premaika labhya muhu. That is only by love, only by pure, unalterated love. And that is what, don't we sing that in Damodar Ashtakam during the Kartik month? Iti driksvalila birananda kunde swagosham nimajantamakhyapayantam tadiyeshitagneshu bhakti jitatvam punha prematastam shatavriti vande. What is Krishna? How is he won over by? He's won over by bhakti. Only by pure loving devotion service that he is totally controlled by. And that is what we see. Even in Narasimha Leela, we see that how Krishna is totally controlled by Prahlad Maharaj. It is very beautiful verse comes, Satyam Vidhatum Nija Bhritya Bhashitam. Why did Narasimha Dev appear? Narasimha Dev appeared to prove the words of Prahlad Maharaj right. Vyaptum cha akhileshu. That I am all pervading. I reside in every living entity. If just imagine if Prahlad Maharaj told, Hiranyakashipu that yes, my Krishna appears in that pillar, he would have come out from that pillar. If this pillar, this pillar. He was totally bound. Krishna was totally bound by the pure, unadulterated love of his devotees. So you see, Krishna is totally sold out. It is not by dhana, bhijana, rupa, tapa, shruta, ojas, teja, prabhava, bal, paurusha, na radhanaya bhavanti. He is not. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, he is, you cannot conquer Krishna by the wealth. You cannot conquer Krishna by aristocracy. You cannot conquer Krishna by your sensory prowess, by your education, by your learning. No, you cannot. You cannot. It's absolutely impossible. Na radhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumso. But again here, what does it come? Bhaktya tutosha. Bhaktya tutosha. Only by bhakti, only by pure unadulterated love can we attract the mercy of Krishna. That is the only way we can do so. So that even we also see very beautiful. There is a section in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, 16th chapter, where after taking sannyas, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to go to Vrindavan. He wants to go to Vrindavan. So he's requesting Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, Ramanand Rai, and other devotees, please, I want to go to Vrindavan. But again and again, the devotees postpone. They say, oh, Mahaprabhu, why do you want to go? It is Dhola Yatra now. No, why don't you stop? Why don't you go in the month of Kartik? And then Kartik comes. And they tell Mahaprabhu that, oh, it is winter. It is very, very cold. Don't go now. Why don't you spend the entire Kartik here? And after that, you can go later. But when the later comes also, then what do they say? Oh, it is now Ratha Yatra. Why don't you wait for the Rath Yatra, spend the time here with the devotees, and then after that you can go to Vrindavan. And like this, every single time, Ramanand Rai and Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya would pose certain arguments, and Mahaprabhu would become totally subservient to them. Yadyapi Swatantra Prabhu na kore nivaran. Bhakta ichha vina, bhakta vina ichha Prabhu na kore gaman. It is said that Krishna who is totally independent, Janmadi yasya anvayad itiratas charteshu abhigyah swarat. He's totally independent, but that totally independent Lord becomes totally subservient and dependent upon his devotees. This is what Krishna is. That is the nature of our Supreme Lord. He becomes totally controlled by the pure, unadulterated love for his devotees. So this is what we see. Different instances can be quoted right from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, how the Lord is totally controlled. We also see, in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is telling Arjuna, Bhaktya tu ananya shakhya aham vido Arjuna gyatum drashtum Shatvena pravishtum cha parantapa. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you want to know my pastimes, if you want to enter my pastimes, gyatum, if you want to know, if you want to drashtum, if you want to see, and gyatum, if you want to know my pastimes, then what is the qualification? What is the prerequisite? Bhaktya tu ananya shakhya. Only by undivided devotion. And that is what is an indication that it is only by by sadhana bhakti that one can that one needs to practice in order to be able to very intimately come so close and serve Krishna. And is it just like that I just suddenly practice? No. Our acharyas have given the way, have given the path, that it is through the vidhi marg, through the devotional service which is bound by rules and regulations given by the acharyas. Then when the mercy of the Guru and mercy of the Vaishnavas, these feelings of loving sentiments towards the Supreme Lord is eventually developed. So this requires great mercy and great consistency on our path of devotional service. And that is what is the aspiration of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. That is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us. Prema rasa niryasa kori korite aswadan raga mag bhakti loke korili pracharan. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came? He came through his example. He wanted to exhibit the highest ecstasies of pure love of Godhead. And he said he exemplified through his dealings and through his example as to how we can reach up to that stage. And as Gaudiya Vaishnavas and as practicing Vaishnavas, that should be our goal. That is our aspiration. Yes, right now I may not be at that level. I may not be that level. There are so many shortcomings. There are so many deficiencies within me. The problem at this point of time is that Bhishma Dev is saying that let my mind be fixed upon Krishna. But at right now, our mind is half fixed on Krishna, half fixed on Maya, half fixed on during chanting. We pay attention to our notifications on WhatsApp, and so many distractions. Right now, our bhakti is not undivided, but it is multi-branched. But when we come in association of devotees and get inspired by those devotees who themselves are exemplifying these principles in their very own life, then we can get the inspiration to cultivate such feelings. And that is why, if you remember Srila Prabhupada in yesterday's lecture, what was he saying? That we have to develop an intimate relationship with Krishna. And how do we develop that intimate relationship? By feeding him, by dressing the deities, by serving him. And that is what is very, very important. I was, I think, sharing with all the people doing a book reading. These forms of, devotional service are very, very potent. And that is why even in Prahlad Maharaj section, very often we hear this verse, Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma, Nivedanam. But the next verse is also very, very important. And what is the next verse say? Iti pumsa arbito Vishnu, bhakti che nava lakshana, kriyete bhagavati adha. Adha. The word adha is very, very important. Jeev Goswami, he says the word adha means directly. Now we should directly serve the Lord through these 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, we're directly hearing about the glorification of the Lord in the form of his katha. We're directly doing kirtanam. We're directly, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. We're directly remembering the Lord. These are very potent forms of devotional service that is given by Prahlad Maharaj, by the virtue of which we can develop such feelings. And therefore the mood and consciousness is very important. If I'm doing it in the way, okay, I'm somehow doing it, somehow I'm dragging on, I'm pulling on, and we're not getting the taste, then we need to understand that there is some deficiency on my part. Why? Because bhakti is a science. Just like, we go to the lab, in science we have the theory and we have the experiment. Why does the experiment go wrong? Because there is some fault in the procedure that is followed. And that is why we don't get the desired result. In a very similar manner, if we are this point of time not able to feel that, that attraction towards the Supreme Lord, even, little bit, because even over a period of time, you see, I was talking to a devotee just 2-3 years in Krishna consciousness. But you could clearly see this devotee so nicely is practicing bhakti. When he felt sick at one point of time, he came to me and told me, Prabhu, I really missed morning program today. I really missed the chanting with the devotees. This is an indication that his attraction towards the process of bhakti, towards Krishna and towards devotees is awakening. So it's not black and white. Vidhi marg, the path of rules and regulations, and the path of spontaneous affection in the footsteps of the Vrajvasis. But it is a gradual progression that we need to follow under the guideline of the Acharyas. And when we do so, then that loving sentiments which are there in our heart towards the Supreme Lord will once again awaken. And the best ways to do that is through the means of the holy names. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he prays, he says, the holy name is like a zip file. Radha Shyam Prabhu says, like a zip file. When we chant the holy names attentively, nicely, then that opens the world of the beautiful form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. And in this way, when we make progress like this in spiritual life, then we will taste the pure mellow of devotional service that Bhishma Dev, Arjuna, and the gopis of Vrindavan are experiencing in their very very lifetime, in their very very life. So it is not a far-fetched concept where devotees think, oh, this is too far, rag bhakti impossible, not for me. No, but it is something which is, our contemporary acharya, the contemporary devotees, acharyas have set through their example, and following their path, and looking up towards them, we know that there is hope for all of us. So with this prayer, I request all the Vaishnavas to kindly pray from me. It is very, very easy to sit on this Vyasasana and speak big, big things on Rag Marg and, gopis and Mother Yashoda and all. But I know how much I am practicing, and there are so many deficiencies in my practice. But it is only the association of Vaishnavas, where I can find hope and mercy. So thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.